Hey Exotical darlings, this is Coco Exotical. Thank you for being here with me. Today we're going to talk about how they're mad because you take accountability and they don't. Have you ever dealt with an adult who acts like a child? They create chaos, live in constant struggle, make excuses for everything, and somehow always end up being the victim? Immature adults live life in struggle mode. They secretly enjoy doing things the hard way, even though there are simple solutions to their self-created struggles. By doing things the hard way, they are seeking sympathy for their patheticism by complaining to anyone who will listen about how difficult their lives are. They love to live their lives in victim mode instead of actually making changes in their lives to level up. There's always an excuse for their self-imposed misfortune, and everyone else is to blame except for themselves. They create their own problems, then act surprised when life is hard. They blame everyone else for their problems, their boss, their partner, the weather, the dog, anyone else but themselves. They constantly make excuses for everything, for why they can't change, for why it's not their fault, for why you should feel sorry for them. They constantly live life in victim mode. Everything happens to them instead of them taking control of their own lives and their own choices. They avoid accountability, and this is my biggest pet peeve, people who lack accountability. These are the people who throw stones and hide their hand. They hate facing consequences for their own actions and their bad decision making, so they point the finger at everyone else instead. They live in constant drama. They're addicted to chaos because it makes them feel important and significant in their tiny, insignificant lives. They want to ruin everything for everyone else because their own lives are miserable and boring. People like this never grew out of the "it's not fair" and me phase of childhood, but the problem is that they're adults now, and their choices not only impact their own lives, but they impact the people around them as well, and usually not in a positive way. Then they want to act like your life is going well because of your beauty or because of your skin tone or because you dress well or some other BS, instead of acknowledging that no, my life is going well because I've been consistently putting in the efforts over weeks, months, and years to improve myself and my mindset, and I take accountability for myself, my failures, and my successes, right? And so being around people like this is incredibly draining. You end up carrying their emotional weight and constantly cleaning up their messes, constantly putting out the fires that they themselves started. You start to feel like the parent in the relationship instead of a partner, friend, sibling, or equal. And the worst part is that they pull you into their drama until you're stressed, angry, and losing your peace. Sometimes you might even end up losing money or opportunities because of their irresponsibility and bad decision making, right? So this is why it's important to know how to deal with people like this before they drag you down into the mud with them. So how do you deal with immature adults without losing your mind? First, you need to set clear boundaries, right? So you need to decide what behavior you will and won't accept, and then communicate it calmly but firmly. No arguments, no back and forth. You also need to stop fixing everything for them. You care about them and you want to help them, but that's only enabling their bad behavior. You need to let them face the natural consequences of their own bad choices. Don't engage in any drama with them. If they start an argument, you have to stay calm. They want the chaos, so don't give it to them. You also need to protect your energy. Spend less time with them if possible, and give yourself some time and space to reset. Emotionally detach. You care about them, but you don't need to carry their problems as if they were your own, because they're not. You can have compassion for someone without sacrificing your mental health. And this may be an unpopular opinion, but sometimes they don't deserve your compassion. People like this create their own messes, then they expect other people to feel sorry for them and clean it up. It gets exhausting to see people making the same mistakes over and over and over again and experiencing the same problems over and over and over again without even learning anything from it. Then they expect sympathy from people who have learned from their own mistakes and who have made changes to grow and to elevate themselves. So especially if this person's a close friend or family member, right? You might feel guilty for pulling back, but protecting your peace is not selfish. It's necessary. You have to focus on what you can control, right? So you can't force them to grow up. You can't force them to take accountability for themselves and their own lives. You can't force them to stop being a victim, but you can control how you respond to their nonsense, right? So you have to limit their emotional access to you. So if they're always calling you, texting you, or wanting to meet up just so they can dump their problems on you, you have to set limits. For example, if they call you and you realize that they're just calling you again to complain and nag and moan about something, okay, just say, hey, I'm right in the middle of something right now. I can only talk for about 10 minutes. Or if they want to meet up for lunch and you know that they typically spend the entire hour or two trauma dumping on you and complaining about their lives, just say, hey, I actually have a lot going on this week, but I can meet you for coffee or a smoothie or something, and then keep the meetup short for like 15, 20 minutes and then leave. So you have to protect your time and your peace, right? You also need to prioritize your well-being. So sometimes you need to keep these people at a distance, right? So you can love them from afar if being close to them is going to be damaging to you. Or sometimes you have to just cut them off completely if maintaining a relationship with them becomes too detrimental to your own life and your own goals. At the end of the day, childish, immature adults might never change, but you don't have to live in their chaos. You can choose peace, you can choose stability, you can set boundaries, you can choose to stay grounded no matter how chaotic they are. At the end of the day, their self-inflicted problems are not yours to solve. So tell me about it. Have you dealt with people like this in your life? How did you handle it? Thank you for being here with me, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.